So here we go again with the Guitar Den podcast, The Sound of Risk. Rich here, and today we have Kyra Livingston. Kyra Livingston from Florida. You're bouncing around all over the place, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, we got to talk about this. So once again, let me give you a quick synopsis of what I'm doing here. I'm traveling up and down the East Coast. I just got back from North Carolina. Spent a couple of days there, and I've been in St. Augustine, Nashville, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, and I went up to Maine. And basically, what I'm doing is I'm researching the music scenes in every single one of these towns, and we have a tendency to get stuck. Getting stuck in one place is a challenge. And I think I might have been stuck in New Jersey, New York for a long time, although I did good. I'm not complaining. But once I stepped out of New Jersey and New York, I realized it was a universe out there and so many venues, so many places to play. And, it brought new depth to the challenge of being an artist. So I came across your website, Kyra, after meeting a bunch of people in St. Augustine in the villages, and I made it to St. Augustine, traveled there, and I definitely noticed that you have a really, really, really impressive playing schedule.
Yeah.
Okay. So give us a brief synopsis of your career as a musician.
So I
Not so brief.
started, yeah, it's not so brief. So I started branching out into the music scene probably around 2016. And I was previously a waitress. So I was a waitress in downtown St. Augustine, and I had been itching to want to gig, but I just wasn't sure at the time really how I was going to do it. And then I just decided, you know what, I'm going to just save up a bunch of money, get my own equipment, do that. And then while doing that, also going through music school. So I'm also a music major in college. So I went for music education, and just doing that. And I've been doing gigs since 2016, but I'm really just getting started, to be honest, because I was like here and there, like weaving in and out of having gigs consistently because I was trying to really focus on school. But now that I'm like full-time, I'm pretty much full-time out of school now. So I'm like, I've got all these gigs, and I get to go, I have more time and opportunity to do a lot more outside of school. So yeah.
It's it sounds it's are you're not in college now, are you?
Um, Technically, no. I have to do internship. So I'm done with all my classes. Like all my undergraduate classes are finished. But as a music educator, you also have to complete an internship. So I have to pass some of the state requirements for teachers in order to be certified. So I have to do that first before going into internship.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can envision a bunch of older musicians who are around my age listening to what you just said, and I'm going to get them really angry right now. Okay.
Okay.
because I have to I found something on your website here. And now I didn't notice that I didn't see a Facebook page. I'm sorry, I didn't see a website. I saw a Facebook page.
Right. Yeah. I don't have a website currently. I do need to work on
Okay.
that.
Well, listen, all you people listening to the Guitar Den, for somebody who's basically 1 foot out of college, you're playing in April, the 1st, the 4th, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, the 15th, 16th. It looks like you have 2 gigs on the 16th.
Yes, correct.
20th, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, and 29th.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, how does one do that whilst still having to intern in college?
Well, we'll see when that comes around. I don't know if my schedule will be that hefty when I go into internship. My internship is supposed to be in August, so I have some time. But yeah, honestly, when I I'm definitely like an organizer and I plan ahead a lot. So obviously you can see like I've got all these dates lined up. Um, so I try to plan around everything and at the same time study.
Well, let me ask you this. I just spoke to another, I wouldn't be surprised if you know some of the people I've been talking to in St. Augustine. I met a really cool guy, Ronnie. Oh my God, his last name is Ronnie Gross. And I bet you know Wes Register.
I'm not
He
sure.
plays over in Prohibition in
Oh,
St.
okay.
Augustine. Yeah, he's all over the place. And there was another young woman I met in the A1A. You know the
Yeah,
A1. Yeah.
A1A works.
Who's the girl that plays there all the time?
There's this.
Rachel something.
Oh, I don't know. I know like
Okay.
there's Heather Craig. I don't
That's her.
know.
That's her. Heather
Oh,
Craig.
is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
we saw Heather Craig. She was great. She was
Oh,
awesome.
nice. Yeah.
But now the question I get now, obviously, it sounds to me like I'd have to say it, beginner's luck maybe. Usually it takes about 10 years for a name to travel around to the point where you would. Now, obviously, I saw some of your stuff already. You have a beautiful singing voice. I want to share that in a couple of minutes, but it takes a long time for the word to get around. Do you? About your name, do you attribute this to your organization, your talent, the market being wide open, or just luck?
Well, when I first started, I felt like I had some good connections when I started. I started to go to open mics. Narrow Magazine was just starting too in St. Augustine. They're a music magazine, and I had some friends within that realm, and they started doing open mics around St. Augustine. I knew people. Honestly, it was crazy. I still to this day I talk to the guys from Narrow, and they're like, I don't know what happened, but back in 2015, there was just like this huge group of like people who graduated from your high school, which was St. Augustine High School. And they were like, and it was like booming. Like all these kids came out with so much talent. I mean, there's Christian Powers, there's Joe Lee, that's in my age group. There were like a ton of kids, and it was like a gold mine for them. And I felt like we all kind of gotten that good connection with them. And then that got booked. And then also on the flip side, whenever I started, I actually started gigging at the restaurant that I waitressed at. And then on that side of things, I felt like, honestly, I maybe just talent, because I know like at the time I was doing like songs and stuff that other people weren't doing. And I will say like there's an older generation in St. Augustine that's been in there like for years and years and years, playing in St. Augustine for 15 years. And so a lot of them, I hear a lot of the same songs at times. So like
Sure.
I would try to pick different stuff that other people wouldn't play or sing. And then like people would catch on to that. And that goes around. And honestly, I feel like St. Augustine is such a small town. I don't feel like it's that hard to get around. Maybe it seems like bigger to some people, but it
Oh
to
God,
me,
no.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
not at all.
yeah,
You could throw a rock and basically hit the other side of the town.
exactly,
I
yeah.
mean,
So honestly, I didn't feel like it was that hard. But it
but
really did. Honestly, though, I didn't really pick up momentum until maybe like year two of me gigging, only
right,
because like I was in college, so like my focus wasn't gigging, but
right.
it like was still in the back of my mind. I still wanted to do it, but now it's like full swing,
Okay.
so
So, well, okay. So let me just give people, I'm quite sure that a great deal of, I'm thinking that, you must have played some open mic nights and then it had to be a combination, like most things, like it's a fertile market. And you're immensely talented and organized. And, those are the qualities that, I mean, let me just play a clip of this. I caught this a couple of minutes ago.
Wise men say only
Well, there you go. I mean, that's, you must have played that, and then people took notice of that, I'm sure. Um, yeah. So another question. That's a great clip. And do you do a lot of TikTok? It's the Instagram.
I just started doing TikTok. I had a friend finally convince me.
Right.
And honestly, it's been wild. If you go onto the TikTok app and see like the stuff that I've been doing, I just started and I feel like I've gotten a lot of like views on them.
Right.
But yeah, like honestly, like, cause I've had some people they've come across like my Facebook or their Instagram, and they're like, yeah, but you don't like have a lot of videos out there. And I'm like, sorry, that's my dog.
That's all right.
They're like, yeah, you don't really have you don't have a lot of promotional material. And I was like, I know, it's like, I know, but I've gotten, and you're right, I've gotten really lucky. So
yeah. So now the one question, I'm just looking at your schedule again. You got that there. Basically, I'm on a hunt to find if there's a formula. I know the formula already, but because I've been in the music business for years. But it's just, first of all, it's fun to make connections. It's fun to talk about it. It's fun to kind of put your finger on it, talk about what's going on at different places. But one of the things that I'm personally really curious about are the finances of what it takes to keep to launch them into full-time musicianship. So it is practically in New York, practically impossible to make a full-time career out of being a musician. Partly because people are kind of shooting themselves in the foot with these insanely high rents. Okay, so
right.
And the market in New York City, I think, and it takes a long time for you to get your head around even what I'm about to say. The market is not conducive toward growing as a musician. You got to really be out there a lot, and the venues are paying such insanely high rents that it's the venues are leaning on the musicians to populate the venue to help pay the rent. So the people really only come out to see you once. So once or twice tops, and then they're done. So the musician can't really play frequently enough to keep their chops up or to grow beyond being an amateur and then finally launch themselves into being a full-time musician. And the tragedy of it is I think they don't even know what's going on. They're not even aware of the fact that they're in an environment that they're literally continually selling air conditioners in Antarctica.
Yeah.
So right. So, part of the reason for this podcast is to, talk about these things, make people think about these things. So the one thing that I'm curious about looking at your schedule, again, we have in April, we have 1, 4, 8, 9, 10, 15, 16, 20, 22, 23. I think there might be another one that's off the screen here, but I see a lot of musicians that are playing like, say they might have the 1st, the 4th, the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th, and that's their monthly schedule. And I continually look at these schedules and say, that's not enough to make a living at it. I was recently in North Carolina and I saw an original artist called Paleface, and he has about that amount of shows. But I was asking his girlfriend and drummer, like, do you guys make a living at this? And she was like, yeah, definitely. Yeah, we make a living at it. And I would say they're playing about 7 times a month. They were great, by the way, but they're original artists, which is a whole different discipline. But at what point in Florida can you say, okay, I really don't have enough time, like the amount of gigs, I really don't have enough time. I'm making enough money to pay my bills. So why be a waitress? Why work in an office? What's the sweet spot?
Like, you mean transitioning to like a regular job to being a musician here?
How many gigs do you think you need a month to leap?
Oh, well, that depends. Especially down here, I feel like more and more musicians are trying to find private event gigs.
Mm-hmm.
You can make a very decent living down here doing private events. Um, I can't give away how much I make a month, but
no, I'm not saying that. I'm just, the
but
number
like
of.
it's very possible though down here. Specifically St. Augustine, there's just so many jobs. And honestly, again, like you've mentioned it, like I have gotten very lucky probably, but also like I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't sound good either, because I think that also contributes,
Sure.
like, because there are people that don't sound like other people, and I feel like this generation down here, where my age, I'm like 26. So my generation is coming up now, and now like more and more people are liking the songs that are coming out in this generation, as well as the older generation. But anyways, a lot of factors, but yes, it's very possible. How many gigs a month? I mean, I know people who are gigging like 20 gigs a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can that, at that amount, now you're playing covers, right?
Yeah.
Well, exclude. Do you ever throw some originals in there?
I would like to. I did an original about 4 years ago, but that was for someone else. It really didn't feel like me, so I don't really promote it that much.
Do you write originals?
I do. Yeah. I just haven't really released anything yet. So I do that, and then trying to go in that direction with my 5-piece band that I have. So
Tell me about that. How are they doing?
yeah, it's good. I have a really good group of guys. I really do. We tried to start before COVID, which was the worst time, because then once COVID hit, we couldn't meet for quite some time.
Right.
But yeah, they're a really good group of guys. Like they mesh really well, personalities, which is very hard to find.
Telling me.
Yeah, it's very hard to put a band together, but been great so far. We've had gigs here and there. We've done private events. Again, I will say, for example, last private event I did, and this was with the band, this wasn't with just me. We made a fair amount in tip money, because these people in some of these communities, they have tons of money just sitting in their pocket, and they're just like, here you go. I know like Florida is becoming more and more populated, so like people from like up north and like California are coming to St. Augustine, and like just people with a ton of money are coming down here, so it's like more and more private events are happening. And
do you ever make it to the Villages?
No, I don't.
That's that big retirement community in like right in Central Florida.
Yeah.
At the woman that I just interviewed, Allie Sawicki.
Okay.
You ever hear of her? She's all over the place. She was playing a lot in Florida, and just got picked up by a cruise line.
Oh, okay.
And so she's going to be out for like 3 months on a Disney cruise line, and she's very excited about that. But another thing that I noticed in Florida, 2 things. I mean, number one, they don't lean on you as much to bring people in. How much do you hear that?
At first I would hear it a few times, but then, there's a realization there that like, that's not going to be like, that's just not going to happen. Like if you're a business and you're asking that of all your musicians, like I guarantee you it's not going to happen like you want it to as a business.
Right.
Now I will say, when you're in downtown St. Augustine though, that's a very different story, because if they hire you, they will ask you like, can you draw a crowd? It's like, okay, yeah. But that's because, well, and that's on your judgment. Like, do you think you draw a crowd with your guitar playing or your voice and people come, because there's so much tourism going on.
You don't need it. You can just go to the tourist venues.
Right. For example, I play at a wine bar called Ben 39. I just started playing there recently. I just played today on a Monday.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And like, which I never play on a Monday. And it's great because like right now it's April, so it's like spring break just got done. Tons of people are coming into town. The weather is nicer, so people want to come to St. Augustine. And so there's a bunch of people, and I mean, people are sitting at tables, it's filling up. So it's like, you be the judge,
Yeah, right.
So that's bringing them business. And if you are bringing them business, then they will call you back on a Monday.
Yeah, I'd say. Now, that's great. That's awesome. So yeah, well, just to share with you, in New Jersey is, oh my God. Me and my girlfriend went into, we were driving up and down the shore, the shore. You ever see the Jersey Shore?
No, I haven't.
It's very, very nice. Just a giant shoreline. It's like any other, beach, just beach town after beach town after beach town. It's, they're all the same after a while. But for some reason or another, people just don't go out to see live music, especially cover songs. And there are some bands that draw, but the bars up here are just utterly brutal to the point of rudeness.
Really?
Oh
wow.
God, absolutely. I went into one place in Belmar the other day, and the woman was just rude. Following. That's exactly what she said. How many following? What's your following? And I was like, really? But it's kind of a sad situation in certain cases, because these venues are definitely not, you walk right in and you look around and you're like, this place isn't growing. It was a Friday night too.
Right. That's the other thing. There's so many factors. And I feel like some of these restaurants that are like asking like cover musicians to be like, oh, like, will you bring 50 people? And it's like, okay, number one, depending on your location and where you are, like that may or may not happen for you.
Right.
Just your restaurant. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, unless it's like an original artist that's like got a huge following, like you're really, I feel like that question is sometimes like not right to ask.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. My and now bear in mind, I've been fighting this war for years, but like my personal perspective on it, and I'm asking all the musicians the same question, and I'm definitely finding that the farther south you go, I ask the musicians, and they're like, I don't really have to deal with that, But
no.
I was in Virginia. And Virginia was a very interesting state, because there were really nice venues and really nice small towns and a lot of breweries that were hiring musicians, but they were just really far away. I mean, literally, you would have to get into your car and drive another hour to get to the next place. And they're really like almost Civil War kind of. You could say that you could see the towns were built during the Civil War, like around that time. And the breweries are really nice, and the musicians are great. And I asked them that, but what I'm finding is if you ask that question in New York, they'll be like, "Oh, please, I don't want to talk about it." They're browbeaten. Jersey, they get killed with it. Then there's this strange no man's land in Maryland and Delaware and Northern Virginia, where there's literally like nothing going on, and there's music venues, but it's sparse, or I haven't found them. And then as soon as you get into North Carolina, then it starts. It opens up. Like breweries, but again, they're very far away. And then and then there's another no man's land. South Carolina is a no man's land. And then Florida is this insane explosion, just an explosion of live music, to the point where it's like, oh my God, where have I been? I haven't gotten as far as the Keys, but I have a friend of mine that I'm talking to about it. His name is Pat Guadano, and he plays up here, and he's a pro musician, older. He's a little older. But he plays up here in Jersey, and he's very talented, and he plays all covers. And we've been talking about the link. He's linked up New Jersey and Florida as well. But the next observation that I have with Florida, and I'm looking. It looks like you're St. Augustine. The location of your gigs: St. Augustine, Gainesville, Ponte Vedra.
Ponte Vedra.
Ponte Vedra. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, I just gave up
No,
my.
it's okay.
Might as well have a big map of New Jersey behind me.
It's not far. It's basically right next to St. Augustine. So.
Oh, okay. All right.
Mhm.
Okay. So, and then Jacksonville, that's 30 minutes away. So you're not driving great distances.
As of right now, no.
Okay. So
Thankfully.
you're lucky because a lot of people, especially, have you ever made it to the West Coast of Florida?
Yes, actually. I have some family over there, but I took a trip out to California during that time. And actually explored the music scene over in California a little bit, which was interesting. Um, yeah, no, I have. But oh, I remember I went over there because I was like, wait, what was it that we had really fun time at? There was a place over there on the West Coast. I can't remember what beach it is. I think it was in Pensacola or something. And me and my boyfriend were like busking. You know what the term busking?
Sure.
Yeah, some people don't know, so I have to explain
That's
it. But
all right.
yeah, but we went over there and it wasn't like a venue. It was just like it was like a huge stage next to the beach. And I was like, what? Like, they don't have this over in St. Augustine. We should play over here. So I had my guitar, I sang, and then my boyfriend played cajon. And so we were just like playing around for like an hour, and people were tipping us left and right. Like, I was like, whoa, like, this is cool. So
Busking, busking is the most. Two things are happening to me personally that I wouldn't thought of happen. One is open mic nights, right? Open mic nights. You know,
Yeah.
you start out in open mic nights, then you go pro, and then you're like, I wouldn't want to play an open mic night. I went to North Carolina. We wandered into a venue, and there was this. It was amazing, a beautiful stage. The mic was already set up, and they had a guitar there. And they advertised open mic night. And I asked the bartender, I was like, when does that start? And he's like, whenever the host shows up, and there's nobody really signed up. So I literally, the host was the owner, and I went up to him, and he goes, I said, where's your sign up sheet? He goes, we don't really have one. I just call names out. He's like, you want to play first? Yeah. And I did. I just jumped on the stage. We were on vacation, and I jumped on the stage. I lit up the stage for a while. The sound was amazing. So but what I'm testing out is the reaction of people in these different states. That's a big question in my mind. Like, what is the temperament of somebody in New Jersey as opposed to the temperament of somebody in Virginia, the temperament of somebody in North, South Carolina, Georgia, and the temperament of the North as opposed to the South. And obviously,
that's very clear. I feel like.
Do you think you have the answer? Do you feel?
Oh no, I'm saying like in terms of like well, you say temperament. So I'm very much like a Southern girl at heart. Like, I grew up in Hilliard, Florida, which is still Florida, but it's north of Jacksonville, almost Georgia.
Right.
And I feel like it just depends on where you go, but like when I went up north and then I went to California, there was like big differences in terms of like, I feel like some people just aren't nice.
Yeah.
And then like, but it's so weird because like down here, like everybody is like from all over, literally all over. So when I used to, even before I started gigging, like I used to get people from France come into the restaurant. I used to keep people from Egypt come in, people from Canada. I'm like, what? Like, I just met some people from Canada a few weeks ago that were at my gig, and they were like, we came down here because the weather is just way nicer right now. So, as far as like, do you mean like tolerance for the live music down here?
Well, their reaction to it, are they attentive? Will they just will you just see people on their phones the whole time? You know, will they? Yeah.
That's the funny thing is that like when people come down here, specifically to St. Augustine, I can't speak for everywhere in Florida, but like, yeah, you'll get some people that are on their phones, but a lot of the time, like, there are some people that will sit there and listen to you like for the whole time you're at that gig. And it's really crazy. And it's really like, sometimes you're like, oh, like they really liked me, you know, like, or they really enjoyed it.
There was two things that we ended up in North Carolina, and like I said, I saw my friend Paleface is his name, and he's an original artist, and he was playing a place called Shugs, and it was in Salisbury, North Carolina, and we pulled up to the place, and it was a hut, a little house.
Oh wow!
And I was like, I was like, oh man, this is weird. We walked in, and I don't know how they did this, how they fit a full-scale original music venue with ambiance, paintings on the wall, a giant PA system, big, full quality PA system. It could that PA system could have played an amphitheater, and great food, friendly people, and a bunch of people just sat down. There wasn't really many people. I mean, the capacity of the place was only like maybe 40. Right. And there was probably, and I stayed he played 3 hours from 8 till 11. And the people that were there were just, first of all, he's a massive entertainer. He's standing on the chair playing. He's getting the audience involved. They loved him. But the people there were so immensely attentive. I was looking at them and they were like all ages. I was like, these are the types of people that you got to get into the venues. Like, they were really nice. And you might know this, or you might know it. What's Amelia Island? Is it Amelia Island?
Yes.
Okay. There's that main artery on Amelia Island. And there's this one little breakfast place. Like, I don't know. It's about maybe 4 miles into Amelia Island. If you're driving south, it's on the left.
I don't know all of Amelia too well, but
we went in and had breakfast one day. There was live music there, but not at the time we were there. And there was a waiter that waited on us, and he was so nice and cool and gentle. I thought he has to be faking it. He has to be faking it. I mean, we drove back into Jersey, and immediately, the farther north you get, the more people are weaving in and out of traffic, high beaming you.
Oh yeah. I'm telling you. That's why I was saying, like you said, that's why I laughed. You said temperament. I was like, well, I can tell you.
Yeah.
Because especially so when I went to California now 4 years ago, we just went over there to like see the state and like really see how the culture is over there, like what's it like, whatever. And I remember me and my boyfriend, we were trying to make money on the way. So like we weren't losing money. We also were making money. So it was kind of sketchy, but we took some like Craigslist jobs, but we really like tried to like think about it before we tried doing one of them. So we saw this job. It said like interior designer was trying to move to one part of like Hollywood Hills or whatever. We're like, okay, yeah, like make some money. He was paying pretty decently. So we went over there. We got all of his stuff. He was really nice. He was making a lot of money. Very nice. This new apartment that he was in was like some 1920s vintage something. I don't know. It was wild, but it was very pretty. And I remember we were unloading all of this furniture out of my boyfriend's van. I parked the van for just a second because because California has hills. So we were going up this steep hill to get to this guy's apartment. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, where am I going to park? How do they have parking? Because when you went up, also all of these like condos and places were like on their sides going up this hill, this one street, all these, I was like, what is this? So we get all the way up there. There's like no parking. Parking is super limited to this neighborhood. So I was like, oh, well, I'm going to park here at like in front of his house. I probably shouldn't have. It was in somebody's driveway, but I needed somewhere to park for just a second. And this guy, I knew he was coming for me. He literally is on his balcony. He sees me. He has his sunglasses on. He's in a wife beater. He's like, got this muggest face, and he's so mad. You can just see it. It's just instant. And then I see that he is going down the stairs. She's going down. Well, this girl gets her little, I swear to God, it was like off of a movie. This girl came out of her car. She had her little chihuahua. She was about to walk it in California. The guy comes down. He is mad. He's like, get off my lawn. Like, da, da, da. Going off on her. And then I see he sees me, and then he's like about to go off on me, like so hard. Like, and I didn't even park there for maybe 2 seconds. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you need to get off. Don't you see the sign? Da, da, da. Like, he's going off. And I go, well, maybe if you were a little bit nicer, I would. I said that to him. And he looked at me, and he took a 1 step back, and he goes, I'm sorry. He's like, but people just park here all the time, and like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, maybe just be a little bit nicer. And he literally was like, and it was so funny because the interior designer guy, I told him that the guy came down and was about to come after me. And he was like, oh girl, you gave him that little Southern hospitality, didn't you?
You got a little lucky. I mean, that's yeah. No, I get it. Yeah, that's surprising, like, and a shame. It's it's a shame to hear, but I saw something you made while you were talking. I was thinking of something I saw the other day, and it was just blatant. It was ugly, and it was around parking. It was revolving. This particular case was revolving. Somebody was trying to park it. They stopped traffic for a second to back out of their driveway, and this guy got out and just started screaming and threatening violence, and it was bad news.
Yeah.
But
like, people are so quick to snap.
Yeah.
Like, so quick.
They
are. I'm just like not like that. So it's like, well, maybe. So that's what I was like, well, maybe if it would just be a little bit nicer.
The tragedy of it is that it infects you as well, especially the longer you stay. Like New York, I'm finding is I've been in New York for years, and it was, it's great. I was a resident at these amazing venues. There was one place in New York City called the Back Fence, and it opened 2 weeks after World War II ended, and it had music 7 days a week until 2013 when it closed. And I dreamed about getting into that place because it was always crowded, and I was a resident there. So New York, it was great. It was just amazing. It was a dream come true. But the rents, I was in one place called the Red Lion the other day, and I was just randomly talking to some kid, and he was with his mother, and turned out his mother was spending $7,000 a month for rent.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And
no way.
Yeah, no, it was just the word I use is obscene. The rents are obscene in New York City. But what I find in New York City is that it's a city for the young. It's a playground for if you're young, and you're experiencing it. But if you look at somebody who's been in New York City too long, it's not pretty.
Oh, you're irritated, I'm sure. You're like, oh, I'm over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really, it's funny you say that, because I'm like, I want to go back to New York so bad. Like, so the first time I went was when I was in 8th grade, and I loved it. And it was during Christmas time. It's like, that you get to see the Rockettes, you see all the snow. Like, it was my first time seeing snow. So, but I've always wanted to go back. I've been dying to go to see what you mentioned, like the music scene and how it is out there, and then like Nashville as well. But I was like, I'm just dying to go and see what it's like in New York.
It's great to visit. It really is. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah. Anybody would, I could point you to places like the museums are incredible. Bleecker Street's great. It's very crowded. But the, there's the music scene, the rent's priced out the music scene. So there's a few, Brooklyn, there's a nice music scene, and Jersey, there's a lot of nice places in Jersey, like Red Bank, Jersey City's pretty cool. Hoboken's a bit of a frat party. But there are some New Hope, Pennsylvania. What I personally like are these quaint little hippie-ish towns. You ever see those kinds of places?
Mm-hmm.
We ended up in one place in Charlotte, North Carolina the other day, and it had that's where I played the open mic night. And it was just like, just little people with tables on the street selling their art, and little cafes, little bars. It was a little centralized. Like, as soon as we drove into this location, I was like, this is it right here. This is where I want to be. Those kinds of, like, New Hope, Pennsylvania's like that. Like, old retired hippies all live in New Hope.
Oh my gosh.
It's great.
Come to the beach side of St. Augustine. You'd probably really like it.
That pizzeria, what's that pizzeria? You know, the one I'm talking about? Paulino's or something like that. It has he has a whole outside area, and he built a little gazebo / stage. It's right north of St. Augustine. You know
North St. Augustine?
Yeah, it's right on the north tip of St. Augustine, the town. Not the it's by the fort. It's close to the fort. Little pizzeria, Paulino's, Bolinos, or something like that.
Oh, yes. Yes, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
He has original bands out there, but he's a little he's like that. But he built a whole little gazebo right in his backyard. Yeah, I was like, I met him. He was like, we only hire local guys, and I was like, all right, it's a great place.
Yeah. Well, honestly, we get a lot of pop-ups in St. Augustine like that, like because we have like the farmers market here and too. So we have a farmers market on St. Augustine Beach, and then at the St. Augustine Amphitheater. Yeah. So those are going all the time, and then we'll have like little pop-ups like for events here. Like we have a ton of festivals coming up. There's going to be like the Food and Wine Festival. We just had like the Celtic Festival. We have the Rhythm and Ribs. We always have something going on here. And then people like pop up with their little businesses, kind of like you were saying, like kind of like the hippie-ish kind of stuff. Oh yeah, you get like ring girls with their hula hoops.
I've seen him. I got a buddy out in what's his name? Bongo Jack. And he has a troupe, the Dancing Bear Tribe. He found me on YouTube. First of all, I think really it in this modern day, like with TikTok, and there's a lot of animosity on these social media sites, a lot. But also at the same time, like the opportunity for people to find you and you to find people and communicate with people. Like I'm living a dream right now with giving lessons over Zoom. Like the COVID-19, it brought me out of the classroom, and now I'm giving lessons on Zoom, and I'm living this dream. But simultaneously, it also can be really challenging just because of the amount of chatter online, the amount of nonsensical videos that, and the people have the right to post whatever they want. But there's a huge duality to the modern day music scenes. Like, you said something in passing that I want to close with, but you were traveling. One of the biggest questions in my mind is expenses while you're traveling. Like, this is a huge thing. And I think, and I was an agent for before COVID-19. I was an agent booking tribute bands, and I loved being an agent because I love the music business. I like getting out and forging deals, and booking people, building databases, and I was really liking that. I was booking some pretty high dollar shows, and yeah, and then obviously COVID-19 happened, but one of the I've always searched these original artists, and this is a little kind of not so nice. And this is something that has to be addressed. I see many of these tribute or many of these artists who are like quote unquote DIY artists. And I'm looking at their schedules and their flight schedules and their playing schedules, and the math isn't adding up, because I know how much it takes to keep a band on tour. And I think that a lot of these guys, you got to be careful who you look up to or who you see as role model. And I'm certainly not talking about you, because I could, the reason why I reached out to you is because I took one look at your playing schedule and I was like, well, that's a healthy living, so, but I mean, when, there's this one guy, a couple of guys in particular I'm thinking of, they're playing like 4 shows a month and they're flying, you know what routing dates are? In the routing dates is when you have a band that plays in logical places. Like, you don't have a band play in New York City and then the next day fly out to Arizona and then fly to Ohio and then the next day.
They have to be on a logical route.
Yeah, it's a route. So this guy was basically flying, and then Mexico, he was playing internationally, and then he's a solo acoustic guitar guy, and I'm like, how do you do this? And he was like, I'm totally DIY, totally do it yourself. I make a living out of I'm like, come on, man. No trust funds, no inheritance, nothing like that. Nope, absolutely not. I think
sorry.
It's, like that.
I don't know. I agree. I agree with you. It's like, no, there's something.
Yeah.
Either somebody's giving you or sponsoring you, or you've got some sort of money backing you up, or you're literally broke.
I don't think two in these instances, 2 + 2 is equaling 430. Like, it's not like 2 + 2 is equaling 5.5. It's like, right. No way. So when you said, now I think personally that what defines an artist is how they address the challenge of making a living as an artist. And you can hear it in the music. If you listen to Beethoven's music, you hear an incredibly determined man who's like forging his way through the music business. And one of the things that Beethoven dealt with was piracy, because they were duplicating his music again. He was publishing his music and selling it, and you could hear him complain about it all the time. So, and then you listen to his music, and the more you decipher this and look at what he wrote, you're like, can this come out of one man's brain? If you listen to some of these symphonies, it's like there's layers of instruments that are each in their own universe, floating around, coming together. And there's 12 different things happening at once, coming together to make this symphony that's like, this is insane. This guy was genius. So but you could feel, if you just said, okay, Beethoven, from day one, here's your money, do whatever you want. He was living this lifestyle where, his benefactors were, he had some benefactors, but they're falling off horses and breaking their legs. And they're saying, sorry, Ludwig, I don't have any more money. So that sent him into a weird place. And he's always fighting and fighting and fighting. And then and forget about Beethoven. Talk about Mozart. The guy died at 35. And Van Gogh, as an artist, struggled his whole life. So when you address the challenge of being a true artist, you could hear it in the music, and you could see it in the performance. You could feel it in the person's energy. And that's why when you said that you're traveling and you literally were like scoping out jobs on Craigslist to pay your way along the way, right?
Well, this wasn't for a musical benefit. It wasn't to go and perform. It was literally just to go visit California. So that's a little bit different. I had saved money. I had a fund, but along the way we were like, well, why not, get creative and try to, on the way, find jobs. That way we don't have to go broke. So this is obviously one of the things that you factor in your traveling. You're saying, okay, well, how can we make this work? Yeah.
So,
this wasn't like tour or something. 'Cause I feel like you're definitely, I mean, there's so many original artists that struggle when they tour, but this was more just for because I was between my sophomore and junior year of college, and I wanted to take a gap year, and we just wanted to travel. It wasn't really like doing it to tour or play music around all these places. But yeah, I mean, we weren't struggling while we were traveling. We just wanted to come up with different ways of okay, how can we make money on the way instead of when we come back, we have this amount of money and then we have nothing.
I hear you. You're not.
know?
It's not like you're devoid of a challenge. It's not like you have. We got $1 million in the bank. So yeah.
And it's like, it's great too, because going back to like the social media thing, like, I mean, we just have access to so much now, like to how to make money. You know, along the way, we were looking at like, okay, like literally in each area, what Craigslist list jobs are out there. So we would like go on a computer, like at like a Panera or something, and just like see what's in the area if we wanted to.
Right.
And if it was safe, obviously. And we would do that, or we would just go and find a safe area where we could busk and see if we make a little bit of money that way.
That's interesting. Yeah. Oh, I was going to tell you that the one thing that I do, I call it guerrilla gigs. I literally have a little ukulele and a looping pedal and a small little amplifier, and I guerrilla gig. I don't do it for money, but I literally do it because the guerrilla gigging, I do it because it's scary. That's it.
Really?
I mean, oh yeah, absolutely. Whenever I feel any kind of anxiety or fear, I know that I'm in the right place. Boredom is the worst. Like I played 1,500 live performances, and I could get up, I could just walk into any location, grab my guitar and play Johnny Cash songs, Bob Marley songs, Daft Punk, Foo Fighters, and check, I get it. I could do it. But when I do these peripheral things that are scary, I'm like that's where I feel. I literally like I call it beelining. Like I host these open mic nights through the Guitar Den, and I literally beeline people and say, hello, my name is Rich. Don't mean to bother you, but I want to show you. You have a guitar in your hand. I want to invite you to the open mic night. Or if I see a parent that has a kid that's about the age that I that would take lessons, I'm like, hey, is this kid interested in music? Because social media is just, it's too easy to flake. It's, I host webinars on social media. I advertise them on social media, and they're great. They're amazing. Like I post, I'm going to have a webinar, free webinar on how to play the guitar. So, I mean, but
honestly, so that's the other thing too. Like, you're right. Like, it's so easy to dip out on social media. Like there's no, you don't get a slap on the hand if you just disappear.
Not at all.
But yeah, no, you're right. Like social networking is a huge part of my career. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. Like again, like people can say, oh, well, it's luck. This girl, people have even told me, oh, well, she's a pretty girl. She probably gets all the gigs. It's like, no, trust me. I've worked my tail off to get my gigs. That's clear. Like being attractive but there's no way. There's too many pretty faces. And it's like, you gotta, this whole bunch of things. And I think one thing that I always, if you look at my social media, it's like the one theme that continually, I think, just irritates and alienates me from a lot of people, and I refuse to back off of it, is the dangers of comfort. Like you cannot, comfort is not an option. Like I said, I literally the other day in an open mic night, I stood up and said, if marketing your own music in 2022 is not an option, if you don't do it, you will fail, period. If you can think otherwise, like you can't get into it. You can think otherwise, but you've been told, Yeah, you have to go out there and want it, and you have to go out there and get it, because like you said, comfortability. There are guys that have been playing out here for like years and years and years, but then, and like, I get it, but I've heard some players out here that are like, oh, like these people just like ripped me off because they don't, like, I'm not playing for them anymore. They're not letting me play here anymore. And it's like, but what are you doing? Yeah. Are you staying at the same restaurant that you've been playing at for 15 years? Like, or are you going and finding more jobs? Like, This is so ubiquitous. I watched Joe Rogan, and he was talking about comedians. And he's like, there's some comedians out there doing Ronald Reagan jokes. And like, but. Yeah, it's like, you gotta think outside the box. You gotta socialize. You gotta go and get it and go. That's just part of being an entrepreneur, really,
Yeah.
because that's what you are. So.
Definitely. Well, I've taken up a lot of your time already. The first podcast I had with these one guy from Florida, one guy from Jersey, and I had a great time with the podcast. It was, there were just a lot of energy in it, but I felt like I scratched the surface of the topics that we could talk about. We could go on and on about all these stories. So,
sure.
I mean, but that's a good thing this way, when I'm on podcast number 1,000, then I'll start to finally say, I think I've said what I had to say, but I got a long way to go.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to mention, just say your name very clearly. And I want everybody to go to whenever, if they look at this, I want them to seek you out. Kyra.
Yeah, so, hi, my name is Kyra Livingston. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Kyra Livingston Music. I'm a musician out here in Florida, and thank you, Rich, for having me.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And one of the other things that I'm doing with the podcast is I'm still figuring out ways that all these musicians can help each other out, go see each other. I know that, there's a great Airbnb. Mo from Paleface's band said she was doing a lot of couch surfing. So
Wow.
That seemed a little scary to me. Couchsurfing.com, she said, I heard about it, but I never actually did it. I still haven't done the Airbnb thing yet. But all these ways to, break down the barriers in your mind, the things that tell you it's not possible. Well, I can't do that because of this. I'm only halfway there because I've established a steady living with the Guitar Den, with the lessons. Now I want to do all the get out there with the music. So I know that it was, Mount Everest to put the Guitar Den together. It took me 12 years to do that now. So I'm ready for this next Mount Everest. So any ways we could all help it. Hey, why don't you try this? That's kind of the idea.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah. All I could say is don't ever let anybody tell you oh, well, that won't happen for you because you're not doing this. I've had people you mentioned it at the beginning, I don't have a website. That's probably some people probably think that's a make or break.
No, I don't think so. No, not at all. No, fewer and fewer people have. Everything I need to know about you is right in front of me right now. I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
So good. All right, everybody, check her out. You're in St. Augustine. You need to go to St. Augustine. Everybody should go. It should be mandatory to visit. So you have an amazing artist that you could go check out. And, it would be great. Imagine if somebody came up to you and said, I saw you on that podcast.
Oh my God. I would tell you right away. I'd be like, Rich.
All right. Great. Thanks again. I'll send you a link to it when I post it. And I appreciate your time immensely, Kyra.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You got it.